The ultimate aim of martial arts is not having to use them. These words, spoken by Miyamoto Musashi, Japan's most legendary swordsman, reveal a truth that goes far beyond combat. But what Musashi actually did before stepping into a duel would shock you. It would horrify modern competitors, and it would be considered career suicide in today's world. Picture this. It's 1612, outside Kyoto. Two of Japan's greatest swordsmen are about to face each other in a duel to the death. One arrives hours early, meticulously prepared, sword polished to perfection, every detail of his strategy rehearsed. The other? He shows up 3 hours late, disheveled, carrying a wooden sword he carved from a boat oar on his way to the fight. The second man was Miyamoto Musashi, and he won. This wasn't arrogance, this wasn't luck. This was psychological warfare at its most sophisticated level. While most warriors prepared for battle by sharpening their swords and practicing their forms, Musashi understood something profound. The greatest victories are won before the first move is made. In a world obsessed with perfection, preparation, and appearing ready, he mastered the art of strategic vulnerability. Think of it like this. While everyone else was polishing their LinkedIn profiles to look flawless, Musashi was showing up to the interview in wrinkled clothes and getting the job because he understood something deeper about human psychology than his competition ever could. Musashi lived by a simple principle: do nothing which is of no use. Yet paradoxically, he appeared to do everything wrong. He was late when punctuality was honor. He was underdressed when appearance was everything. He carried improvised weapons when craftsmanship was revered. And through this calculated chaos, he remained undefeated in over 60 duels. Today, I'm going to share with you exactly what Musashi did, why it worked, and how you can apply these same psychological principles to dominate in your own battles, whether you're facing a difficult negotiation, a challenging presentation, or any situation where mental advantage determines the outcome. Let me tell you about Musashi's most famous duel. In 1612, he was challenged by Sasaki Kojiro, known as the Demon of the Western Provinces. Kojiro was younger, faster, and wielded a sword so long it was called the drying pole. The duel was set for dawn on Ganryu Island. Musashi arrived 3 hours late. During those 3 hours, Kojiro paced the beach, his mind racing. Where was Musashi? Was he afraid? Was this a trap? Had he fled? With each passing minute, Kojiro's confidence eroded and his anger grew. He had prepared for a specific type of encounter, a formal duel with traditional weapons at dawn. Instead, he was facing uncertainty, delay, and the unknown. When Musashi finally appeared, rowing a small boat, he was wearing casual clothes instead of armor, and instead of carrying his famous swords, he held a wooden weapon he had carved from the boat's oar on his way to the fight. The second man was Miyamoto Musashi, and he won.
But here's what's brilliant. Musashi wasn't just being unpredictable for the sake of it. He was creating cognitive dissonance. He was forcing his opponent to fight on unfamiliar psychological terrain. In modern terms, imagine you're in a high-stakes business meeting. Everyone expects you to open with your strongest point, your most impressive credentials, your polished pitch. Instead, you start with a genuine question or an admission of uncertainty. I'm not sure our approach is right for your company. Help me understand what you're really trying to achieve. Your competitors are delivering predictable presentations. You're creating a conversation. Their guards are up, ready to defend against a sales pitch. Your honesty drops their defenses because you're not following the script they've prepared for. This is what Musashi understood. When you refuse to meet others' expectations, you force them to meet you on your terms. You become the author of the interaction instead of a participant in their story. A sales professional might say, "I'm not sure our product is right for you," instead of launching into features and benefits. A job candidate might admit, "I don't have experience in this specific area, but here's how I've solved similar problems before." A negotiator might reveal, "I'm not sure we can meet that deadline, but let's explore what's really driving that requirement." The key is that this unpredictability must be strategic, not random. Musashi wasn't chaotic, he was calculated. Every unexpected move served a purpose: to disrupt his opponent's mental preparation and create psychological advantage. When you master calculated unpredictability, you stop being reactive and start being creative. You stop playing by rules others have set and start writing your own. Time was Musashi's greatest weapon. Not speed, time itself. He understood that while his opponent waited, their mind would create 1,000 scenarios, each one depleting their mental energy. By the time he arrived, his opponent had already fought and lost multiple battles in their head. This wasn't disrespect. This was weaponized psychology. Think about what happens when you're waiting for important news. Your mind races through possibilities. You rehearse conversations. You imagine outcomes. With each passing minute, your mental energy drains. You're exhausted before anything actually happens. Musashi knew this. He knew that punctuality is often a form of psychological submission. When you arrive exactly when expected, you're operating in someone else's timeline, following someone else's rhythm. When you control the timing, you control the emotional temperature of the encounter. But let me be clear, this doesn't mean being chronically late to everything. That's just disrespectful and counterproductive. It means understanding that timing is power and knowing when to use it strategically. In negotiations, this might mean letting the other party speak first and reveal their position. In conflicts, it means not immediately responding to provocative messages, letting the urgency dissipate so you can respond from a place of calm deliberation rather than emotional reaction.
When someone is pressuring you for an immediate decision, you might say, "I need to think about this until tomorrow." While they're anxious about your response, you're operating from a place of thoughtful consideration. You're not reacting, you're responding. I once watched a master negotiator use this principle brilliantly. During a crucial contract discussion, when the other party demanded an immediate answer to a complex proposal, he simply said, "That's exactly the kind of important decision that deserves proper consideration. Let's schedule a follow-up for Friday." The other party's urgency became their weakness. Their need for immediate resolution gave him all the power in the relationship. The person who controls the timeline controls the conversation. The person who can wait wins. But timing isn't just about delays. Sometimes it's about knowing when to move faster than expected. Musashi would occasionally arrive early, catching opponents off guard in the opposite direction. The key is that he controlled the rhythm, not the clock. In your professional life, this might mean following up on opportunities faster than competitors expect, or taking longer to respond to high-pressure situations. The principle is the same. You're operating on your timeline, not theirs. Here's where Musashi's genius becomes almost paradoxical. This master swordsman would sometimes arrive at duels with wooden weapons, or even just a boat oar. His opponents, expecting to face steel with steel, were psychologically unprepared for this apparent disadvantage. But Musashi knew something profound. An inferior weapon wielded with superior skill and confidence was more dangerous than a perfect sword in the hands of a shaken opponent. He turned his apparent weakness into his greatest strength. In that famous duel with Kojiro, Musashi's wooden sword was actually longer than Kojiro's steel blade. But more importantly, it was unexpected. Kojiro had spent years perfecting his technique against metal weapons. He had never faced someone wielding wood with such confidence and skill.
The psychological impact was devastating. Kojiro was thinking, why is he so confident with that wooden sword? What does he know that I don't? That moment of doubt was all Musashi needed. In our modern world, we've been conditioned to hide our weaknesses, to present ourselves as polished and perfect. But Musashi teaches us that strategic vulnerability can be your most powerful weapon. In your professional life, try admitting what you don't know instead of pretending to have all the answers. When everyone else is posturing with credentials and achievements, say, I'm still learning about this, but here's what I've discovered so far. This vulnerability creates connection and trust. People want to help the person who's honest about their limitations, not compete with the person who claims perfection. Your colleagues will drop their guards and share real information with you instead of political platitudes. I've seen this work in boardrooms where executives who admit uncertainty about market conditions get more honest feedback than those who project false confidence.
I've seen it work in sales, where representatives who acknowledge their product's limitations build more trust than those who oversell features. The key is that this vulnerability must be strategic, not weakness. Musashi didn't arrive with a wooden sword because he was unprepared. He arrived with it because he knew it would give him a psychological advantage. He was vulnerable by choice, not by accident. When you strategically reveal your limitations, you're not showing weakness, you're showing strength. You're demonstrating that you're secure enough to be honest, confident enough to be real, and skilled enough to succeed despite imperfection. This is the paradox of power. Sometimes the strongest position is the one that appears weakest. Sometimes the most dangerous opponent is the one who seems most vulnerable. Even when Musashi appeared unprepared, his mental presence was absolute. He had trained his mind to be completely present in the moment, unattached to outcomes. While his opponents were consumed with winning, losing, honor, and shame, Musashi was simply there, fully engaged with what was happening now. This presence was so powerful that many opponents would surrender before the duel even began. They could feel his complete engagement, his total focus, his absolute commitment to the present moment. It was intimidating not because it was aggressive, but because it was so completely centered. In our hyper-connected, multitasking world, this kind of presence has become rare. We're always partially somewhere else, checking our phones, thinking about our next meeting, rehearsing our responses while someone else is speaking. But presence is the ultimate performance enhancement. In your most challenging conversations, practice being completely present instead of planning your next response. When someone is angry with you, don't defend or counterattack, just listen. Really listen. Your calm presence in the face of their emotional storm will diffuse the situation more effectively than any clever response. I once watched a CEO handle a hostile board meeting this way. Instead of defending against accusations or counterattacking critics, he simply listened with complete attention. He asked clarifying questions. He acknowledged concerns. His presence was so grounded that the room's energy shifted from confrontation to collaboration. In job interviews, instead of trying to impress with rehearsed answers, be genuinely curious about the questions. Your authentic engagement will be more memorable than perfect responses. The interviewer will remember how you made them feel, not just what you said. This is what Musashi understood. Presence is power. When you're fully here, fully engaged, fully committed to this moment, you become formidable, not through force, but through focus. The modern world trains us to be everywhere except where we are. Musashi trained himself to be completely where he was. That's why he was undefeated. Here's perhaps the most counterintuitive aspect of Musashi's approach. He prepared for duels by not preparing in the traditional sense. While other warriors spent hours in meditation, ritual cleansing, and technical practice, Musashi would often spend his pre-duel time in ordinary activities, eating, walking, even napping. This wasn't laziness. This was advanced psychological training. He was teaching his mind to treat extraordinary situations as ordinary, to remain calm under pressure, to find his center regardless of external circumstances.
Most people prepare for high-stakes situations by increasing their stress levels, reviewing notes frantically, rehearsing responses, imagining failure scenarios. This actually decreases performance by creating the very anxiety they're trying to avoid. Musashi did the opposite. He treated the life-or-death duel as just another moment in his day. This radical acceptance of the situation, not trying to control it, not being attached to outcomes, gave him tremendous psychological freedom. In your own high-pressure situations, try this approach. Before your next important presentation, don't spend the final hour reviewing your slides. Take a walk. Have a normal conversation. Treat it as just another part of your day. Before a crucial negotiation, don't rehearse arguments. Do something completely unrelated. Read a book. Call a friend. Let your mind settle into its natural state of calm alertness. This doesn't mean being unprepared. It means being prepared differently. It means trusting that your preparation is complete and allowing yourself to be present rather than anxious. What made Musashi truly dangerous wasn't his technique. It was his philosophy. He understood that every battle is won or lost in the mind before it's fought in the world. While others prepared their weapons, he prepared his psychology. While others polished their techniques, he mastered the art of strategic disruption. Musashi's approach was based on what he called no mind, a state of active awareness without attachment to outcomes. He wasn't trying to win. He was simply responding to what was happening with complete presence and skill. This paradox, not trying to win while being completely committed to excellence, gave him tremendous freedom to adapt and respond. In our achievement-obsessed culture, this seems almost impossible. We're taught to set goals, visualize success, and push toward outcomes. But Musashi teaches us that sometimes the most powerful approach is to let go of the outcome and focus completely on the process. When you're not attached to winning, you're free to play at your highest level. When you're not afraid of losing, you can take the creative risks that lead to breakthrough results. When you're not concerned with how you appear, you can be genuinely present with how you perform. This is the warrior's paradox. The less you need to win, the more likely you are to win. The less you need to impress, the more impressive you become. The less you need to control, the more influence you have. So how do you apply these principles in your daily life? How do you become a modern warrior without carrying a sword? First, practice strategic unpredictability. In your next meeting, instead of following the expected agenda, start with a genuine question that changes the conversation's direction. Instead of giving the presentation everyone expects, create a dialogue. Instead of defending your position, explore theirs. Second, master timing. Don't always respond immediately to emails or messages. Let important decisions breathe.
When someone is pressuring you for an instant answer, give yourself time to think. Control the rhythm of your interactions. Third, embrace strategic vulnerability. Admit what you don't know. Acknowledge your limitations. Be honest about your learning process. This authenticity will create deeper connections and more trust than any false perfection. Fourth, practice presence. In your next difficult conversation, focus completely on listening instead of planning your response. In your next presentation, be genuinely curious about your audience's questions instead of defending your ideas. In your next negotiation, be fully present with what's happening instead of attached to your desired outcome. Fifth, prepare by not over-preparing. Trust your training. Do your homework, but then let go. Treat high-stakes situations as ordinary moments. Find your calm center, regardless of external pressure. Musashi's greatest teaching isn't about swordsmanship, it's about psychology. He understood that the most important battle is the one happening in your mind right now. Every external challenge is ultimately an internal one. Every opponent is ultimately yourself. In our hyper-connected, over-optimized world, we've forgotten that sometimes the most powerful move is the one that makes no sense to anyone else. We've become so focused on appearing ready that we've lost the warrior's understanding of when to appear unready. We've become so concerned with following best practices that we've forgotten the power of creating our own path. We've become so attached to outcomes that we've lost the freedom that comes from focusing purely on process. Musashi teaches us that mastery isn't about perfection, it's about adaptation. It's not about having all the answers, it's about being comfortable with uncertainty. It's not about controlling every variable, it's about responding skillfully to whatever arises. The next time you face a challenge that matters, whether it's a crucial conversation, a career opportunity, or a personal conflict, remember Musashi's lesson. Your greatest strength might be hidden in what others perceive as your weakness. Your most powerful weapon might be your willingness to appear vulnerable. Your ultimate advantage might be your ability to remain present while others are lost in anxiety about the future or regret about the past. Don't just prepare for battle. Prepare to win before the battle begins. And remember, sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is show up exactly as you are, with whatever tools you have, completely present to whatever happens next. The way of the warrior isn't about having the sharpest sword, it's about having the sharpest mind. It's about understanding that true strength comes not from what you can control, but how you respond to what you cannot control. Master your mind, and you'll never need to draw your sword. In a world full of people trying to appear perfect, be the one who dares to be real. In a world full of people following the same strategies, be the one who writes your own rules. In a world full of people attached to outcomes, be the one who finds freedom in the process. This is the way of Musashi.